Hello everybody, my name is Chef Moree. I teach at the Anderson Career and Technology Center, and today we're going to be making a pasta dish that all of you can do at home. I know things have been a little bit unusual lately, and I'm sure all of you are missing being in class, making food in the kitchens at your schools. So today I'm going to show you a pasta dish that you can easily do at home. No pasta roller needed, no rolling pin needed, and this is going to be something that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a very tasty dish. So first of all, we're going to use two different flours. Today we have some semolina flour, which is a hard durum wheat flour, and we have some 00 flour, which is just a finer grind than your all-purpose. You can use all-purpose. If you don't have the 00, that's fine. But this dough really does need the semolina flour, so if you go to the grocery store, Bob's Red Mill is a brand that most Buy Low Publix, places like that, are going to carry. It looks like this, and you can use that in the dough. So we're going to mix the flours together first in our bowl, because we want to get those combined. We want to have a good even mix before we start making the dough. I'm going to put that out onto our work surface, and we're going to use our cups to make a little bit of a well right in the middle for our water to go. Get this started, and then we're going to add the rest of the water. So it's going to be a little bit messy at first until you get the water, and be sure that you just kind of stir from the middle out to the edges as you slowly bring the flour into it. If you break these walls open, you're going to have a big mess all over your kitchen. Like that. Okay, now if you have a little squirt bottle handy like this, that's going to help as we're shaping this dough together. It's going to help hydrate things from the outside. It's going to help glue all this little bit of dry flour on the outside. We don't want to introduce too much more water because we've got measurements, but we want to make sure that we're able to get all of these dry bits into the mass of the dough. So once we really start to get things together, and you don't have to be shy about this, you can really smash the dough together. Pasta dough, unlike bread dough, is virtually impossible to over knead. So we can mix this stuff and we can fold it and we can really scrunch it together, and we're not going to overdo anything. So we're going to spray just a little bit of water. We're going to really get all of these dry bits in here together. Just about there. So, proper kneading technique on the pasta dough, you want to use the heel of your hand right here. You want to flatten the dough out, fold it over, and do it again. And you're going to spin it around so you're getting all the sides pushed together. You're going to do this for about 10 or 15 minutes. It's going to seem like it's taking forever, but you really want to develop enough of the gluten in this dough that we get the right texture in the pasta later. I've done this pasta before, and I didn't think it was necessary to knead it that long, and the pasta did not really work out. It's going to feel a little sticky at first as we knead and develop the gluten in the dough. It's going to be a little bit less sticky, and it's going to change texture. You're going to feel it change as you knead. You're going to see it change. And I'm not going to make you watch the same thing for 15 minutes. So we'll come back when the dough's ready. Okay, after about 8 to 10 minutes of kneading the dough, you'll notice that you have a much smoother texture. It's not going to be sticky anymore. It's going to have a very nice smoothness to it, the feel and the look. We're going to plastic wrap this, let it sit at least 30 minutes. I think an hour is better. We're going to plastic wrap it and let it sit. If you're not going to use it after 30 minutes, put it in the refrigerator. It'd be good to use any time over the next day or two, but we're going to go ahead and let this rest 1 hour today, at least 30 minutes, but I like an hour better. Okay, welcome back. It's been about an hour. Our dough is nice and rested. We're gonna go ahead and unwrap this. We're gonna cut it in smaller sections so it's easier to work with. And today we're gonna be making orecchiette pasta. Orecchiette is a small, round piece of pasta. It comes from the Puglia region of southern Italy, located right here. And the word actually means little ears. They're said to resemble small little ears, which is kind of creepy and weird if you think about it, but hey, it's a good pasta and we're gonna make that one today. So we're gonna unwrap our dough. The gluten has had time to relax and rest, so the dough is gonna be nice and smooth. We're gonna go ahead and cut a section of it off, about 1/4 of it. Keep the rest of your dough wrapped up. Of course, we don't want it to dry out. And we'll come back and we'll keep working this later. Okay, so the piece of dough that we have, we're gonna begin to roll that into a rope. Nice and thin. We're gonna try to get it down to about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. This is still a pretty dry dough. You're not gonna need much flour on your surface at all. So we're gonna start from the middle and just push your hands to the edges. You don't wanna push too hard. Just as you're rolling, you wanna just work your hands to the edges of the rope. Okay, so we should have something like this, and we're ready to go. Okay, we're gonna have a sheet pan right here, plate, sheet pan, whatever you have, something to put the pieces of pasta on. We're gonna use some of our semolina flour. You can dust with all-purpose if that's what you got, just to keep things from sticking. Okay, so we've separated our two pieces of our dough. Okay, our rope's nice and easy. We're gonna use a butter knife, and we're gonna cut about a 1/4 inch piece of the dough. We're gonna go very, very small as we go down. So we're just gonna cut these, kind of pinch the dough to keep it from spreading out too far. And we're gonna cut about 10 or so, and then we're gonna shape the first couple. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the piece of the dough that we cut, and on the cut side, right here, we're gonna smash with the butter knife. We're gonna start at the very end, and we're gonna smash, and we're gonna press pretty firm, and we're just gonna let it roll all the way across. Then we're gonna take this, and we're gonna open it up and unroll it over our thumb. And we're gonna make almost like a little hat there on our thumb. And you can see some of the texture in the dough as we stretched it. And we're gonna pop it off. And there's our first little piece. It's also a good idea, I think, to let the dough, as you've cut these pieces, almost let it sit and dry just a little bit. Now I know typically you'll have your chefs tell you that you want to keep the pasta dough covered up with some damp paper towels so the noodles don't get too dry and they don't break. But I think I found that as these sit and get a little bit of a skin on it, as they dry just a little bit, it's easier to get it shaped and then off of your finger without it sticking. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the rest of this rope so they can kind of sit and dry a little bit, and then we'll shape some. Okay, so we've got all of our pieces cut of our pasta that we rolled out into that rope, and we're gonna go ahead and focus a little bit more on our shaping. We're gonna use the edge of the butter knife, the flat edge. We're gonna really press down onto the cut side of each piece of the pasta. We're gonna press onto the countertop pretty hard and pull toward ourselves. And as we pull, it's gonna really flatten and stretch that dough to give us the texture that we want. You can see it kind of rolling around the end of the butter knife. And if we pick that up, we're able to roll it open. Stretch very carefully. You don't want to stretch it too much. You can tear it. And there we go. Now, this does take a little bit of practice. It takes a little bit of effort. The first few times you do it, they might not come out perfect, and that's okay. They're still gonna cook, they're still gonna taste good, but it's gonna take a little bit of practice to get the pressure and to get the rolling down. But once you get it, it really is pretty easy. And sometimes you'll tear one, you know, it happens. That's okay, it'll still cook. That one stuck to me a little bit. So you want them to be, you know, have a good dome shape to it. So if you need to flour your hand a little bit, you can do that so it doesn't stick as you invert it and stretch it down over your thumb. And then it pop right back off, and there you go. See, and we got several pieces shaped right there. You can see some of the stretch in the dough. You can let these sit out on the tray for several hours, kind of dry a little bit before you cook them. You can even let them sit, if you plastic wrap the tray, you can let them sit overnight. If you want to cook them the next day to kind of dry a little bit to hold their shape and keep their integrity before you cook them. But again, let's take another close look at shaping the dough. We're going to press, and as it rolls across the knife, it's going to give us that shape that ends up being the outside of the pasta. And as we roll it over, we can see some of that stretch and some of that shape in there. And that's what we want to see. Okay, so now that we have our pasta shaped, this was just the first 1/4 of the dough, so you can see about how much it makes. It makes about 100 pieces if you do the entire batch. But I wanted to go ahead and get this cooked off so you can see one possible way that you could finish off the dish. This is going to be very simple, very rustic, Southern Italian style dish. We're going to cook off the pasta noodles. We're going to use a little bit of the cooking water because the flour and the starch in that cooking water is going to help thicken our sauce in the pan. We've got a little bit of Italian sausage right here that we're going to use. We've got some minced garlic. We have a couple tablespoons of butter. We have some broccoli that we've cut very small florets and blanched and shocked so they're ready to go. And then we have a little very fine grated Parmesan cheese that we'll finish it with. So we're going to take all this, we're going to go ahead and start our sausage in the pan, get those things ready to go. This is fresh pasta, so this is not going to take nearly as long as things out of the box. This is going to cook in about 2 to 3 minutes. We're going to take it out of the cooking water, put it into our saute pan with our other ingredients when it's still a little underdone, when it's just not quite al dente, because then it's going to finish cooking in the pan, in the sauce, and be ready to go. Let's go. Okay, here we are. We have a saute pan over medium heat. I've added just a little bit of olive oil to the pan. The butter is going to be to finish the sauce later on. So we're going to saute the garlic in some of the oil first, and then we're going to add our Italian sausage to the pan. So we know the oil is ready to go when it moves very loosely in the pan. We know it's nice and hot. We don't want to brown the garlic. We don't want to burn it. We just want to let it release some flavors and some aromas in the pan. Get that nice sizzle going on. Just medium heat, nothing too high. Okay, once that starts to release some aroma, we're going to add the Italian sausage. We got some semolina flour here in the tray. I'm going to shake these around. These noodles, or these pastas, can sit and dry out on the tray, uncovered at room temperature until you're ready to cook them. You can let them sit overnight, up to a day, wrapped in plastic. They're going to dry a little bit. Because there's no egg in here, there's no food safety risk. It's just flour and water, so it's okay to sit out at room temperature. So I'm just going to shake these into the water. Remember, it's fresh pasta, so we're not looking at very much time at all. I'm going to put a lid on this, give it a little bit of a stir so they don't stick, put a lid on, trap that heat, get it back up to a boil. I'm going to add our broccoli into the pan. You can see our pasta over here boiling away. We got some good motion in there. Again, 2, maybe 3 minutes is gonna go pretty quick. We're gonna add the pasta to our dish, or to our saute pan here. We're gonna add a little bit of that cooking liquid to give us some thickening. The starch that's cooking out of the pasta in that water is gonna give us some thickening ability. Let's season this a little bit. Some salt and pepper. We're going to turn this down to low and let it hang out for just a minute until our pasta's ready. Okay, the pasta's been cooking for about 2 to 3 minutes. It's ready to go. We're going to increase our heat here in the pan. We're going to use a slotted spoon. We don't want to drain the water off and down the drain because we want to use some of this cooking water to help thicken our sauce in the pan. We're just going to spoon them right here. If you do want to pour the pasta into a colander or into a strainer, make sure that you save some of the cooking liquid first, because we got some good starch in here that we don't want to lose. We're going to give this a good toss. We're going to add our butter to the pan. This is going to help emulsify and thicken our sauce. If you like a little spice, you can add a little bit of red chili flakes. If you don't like the spice, that's okay, leave that out. Increase your heat to pretty high, because when that pasta water goes in, we want to boil it, almost reduce out that water, and let that starch do the thickening for us. So I got about a 2-ounce ladle. I'm going to add 2 ounces, and you see that boil right away. I'm just going to shake and stir and let that come together into a nice pan sauce. And then we add the cheese to it, Parmesan cheese right here. That's going to help bring everything together nice and tight and tasty. So there we go. Okay, so we've got our finished dish. You can notice this is a very lightly sauced. It's not very heavy. If you want some more sauce, you can add a little bit more butter, a little bit more pasta water. Make sure you adjust the salt and pepper if you do that, but it's a very simple, rustic Italian dish. We're gonna go ahead and put a little bit more Parmesan cheese right over the top of it. And there you go. Nice, easy, quick Orecchiette pasta dish.